Ever feel like your brain is just lagging behind? Like it can't keep up with everything going on? Well, today we're going to do a deep dive on something really interesting. The speed limit of human thought. Yeah, you heard that right. There's actually like a limit to how fast our brains can process information. And get this, it's shockingly slow. So think about it this way. We're constantly bombarded with information from our senses, right? It's like a fire hose just blasting billions of bits of data at you every second. But here's the thing. Our brains can only consciously process a teeny tiny fraction of that. We're talking about like 10 bits per second. That's it, out of billions. It's kind of mind-blowing, isn't it? It's like we have these incredible supercomputers in our heads, but they're stuck with dial-up internet speeds. No wonder we feel overwhelmed sometimes, right? So how do we even function with this bottleneck? Well, our brains are pretty amazing, and they've come up with some clever workarounds. One of the biggest is that a lot of our processing happens unconsciously. It's like having this super efficient assistant working behind the scenes, filtering through all that data and flagging only the most important stuff for our conscious mind to deal with. But that raises some pretty interesting questions. Like, how does our brain decide what's important in the first place? What factors are influencing that selection process? And what happens to all the information that gets filtered out? It's all pretty fascinating stuff. We're going to unpack it all right here, right now. It's almost like there's this constant tug of war going on in our heads between our conscious and unconscious minds. Like our unconscious mind is taking in everything, processing it super fast, lightning fast. And then our conscious mind is just trying to keep up, like a spotlight trying to illuminate this vast, vast landscape. And I think this limited bandwidth we have really highlights the importance of focus. Like when you're trying to learn a new skill, right? Say you're learning to play an instrument or you're trying to learn to code. When you first start out, it's so overwhelming. Your brain is just trying to process so much new information at once. But as you practice, as you develop that muscle memory, those actions start to become more automatic. They kind of fade into the background. And that frees up your conscious mind to focus on the finer details, the nuances. It's pretty amazing how our brains work, right? It's like they're constantly optimizing, trying to streamline processes and automate tasks so we can operate more efficiently. But here's where it gets really interesting. This speed limit on human thought. It has some pretty profound implications for our relationship with technology, especially with the rise of artificial intelligence. Because AI, well, it doesn't seem to have the same limitations that we do. It can process massive amounts of data in the blink of an eye, making decisions and connections that would take us humans, well, a lot longer. So where does all this leave us? Are we humans just destined to become like the slow kids in class? In a world where AI is just zipping ahead at warp speed? Well, not necessarily. I mean, remember, we humans have our own unique strengths too, right? We're incredibly adaptable. For one thing, we can learn new things, make connections, solve problems in creative ways that AI still really struggles with. Let's face it, we're the ones who programmed the AI in the first place, right? We set its goals, we guide its development. So maybe, just maybe, this so-called speed limit on human thought is actually a good thing, kind of a blessing in disguise, you know what I mean? Because it forces us to be more selective, more intentional with our attention. We just can't process everything. So we have to focus on what really matters. And who knows, maybe this limitation is actually what sparks our creativity, that drive we have to find elegant solutions and make meaningful connections. In a world that's just overflowing with instant information and constant stimulation, well, maybe the ability to slow down, to focus, to really think things through, maybe that's going to become our most valuable asset. So next time you're feeling totally overwhelmed by just the sheer volume of information coming at you, just remember this. Your brain might have a speed limit. Yeah, that's true. But it's also capable of some pretty incredible feats of ingenuity. It's really up to you. What do you choose to focus on? What do you let in? And how you use that limited bandwidth. You got to create something truly remarkable. That's all for our deep dive today. Thanks for listening.